Just 5 more minutes. Let me say something to you, sweetheart. Not because I need the time, but because sometimes the heart needs a moment longer than the clock allows. Sit with me here in this quiet space between everything you've been carrying and everything you're afraid to put down. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be strong right now. Just be here. I know the world taught you to keep moving, even when your soul was tired. It taught you to smile through pressure, to call survival normal, to call pain discipline. You learned how to nod, how to say I'm fine, how to swallow words that deserved air. You learned how to keep going when stopping felt dangerous. And maybe no one ever said it out loud, but I will. What you've been doing takes courage, quiet courage, the kind that doesn't get applause. You've been showing up for people who don't know how close you were to falling apart. You've been patient with days that tested your faith in yourself. You've been loyal to promises you made in moments of hope, even when hope felt distant. And I know sometimes you wonder if it's all worth it. Sometimes you wonder if anyone sees the effort behind your calm voice. Listen carefully. You are not behind. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not failing because things take time. Growth is not loud. Healing doesn't announce itself. Strength often looks like getting up quietly and trying again without telling the whole story. You don't have to rush your becoming. The world will try to push you, label you, measure you, but none of those measurements know your inner weather. None of them understand what it cost you to be here. There are battles you survived that you never explained, nights you carried yourself through when no one checked in, moments you chose kindness when bitterness would have been easier. And even now, even after everything, you still care. That matters. You still try. That matters. You still believe, maybe softly, maybe cautiously, but you believe enough to keep walking. And that tells me something about you. It tells me your story isn't finished. It tells me you're still becoming someone stronger, calmer, wiser than the version who first got hurt. So stay with me for these 5 minutes. Let the noise step back. Let your shoulders drop. You don't need to have it all figured out tonight. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to remember who you are when you're not being judged, rushed, or compared. You are someone who keeps choosing light, even when the road is dim, and that choice, that quiet, stubborn choice to keep going, to keep loving, to keep hoping, even when it scares you, that's where your real power lives. Silent strength is the kind of strength no one claps for. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't raise its voice or demand recognition. It sits quietly inside you while you handle things you never imagined you'd have to handle. It shows up on days when your heart feels heavy, but your responsibilities don't slow down. It's there when you wake up tired of being strong but decide to be responsible anyway. Silent strength is choosing to move forward without making noise about how hard it is. It's the strength of not explaining yourself to people who won't understand. The strength of walking away instead of proving a point. The strength of holding your tongue when words could burn bridges you don't want to rebuild. It's the strength of choosing peace over ego, growth over revenge, patience over reaction. Most people don't see that as strength because it doesn't look dramatic. But drama was never the measure of courage. Silent strength is built in moments of isolation, in the pauses between conversations, in the quiet after disappointment, in the long nights where your thoughts keep you company. It's built when you sit with your emotions instead of escaping them, when you let yourself feel the weight without letting it turn you into someone you don't recognize. That kind of strength changes you slowly, reshaping how you respond to the world. You didn't become this strong by accident, you became this strong because you had no other choice. Because life asked more of you than it asked of others. And you answered without knowing how. You figured things out while carrying doubt. You made decisions while unsure. You kept promises while exhausted. That's not weakness. That's resilience in its purest form. Silent strength is forgiving people who never apologized. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. It's letting go of expectations that kept hurting you. It's accepting that some chapters end without closure. It's understanding that not every loss is a failure, and not every delay is a denial. This strength teaches you how to stand alone without becoming lonely. There were times you wanted to be seen, truly seen, for how hard you were trying. Times you hoped someone would notice the effort behind your calmness. But instead of breaking when that recognition didn't come, you adapted. You learned to validate yourself. You learned to keep going without applause. You learned that your worth doesn't depend on who notices your struggle. Silent strength is also knowing when to soften, when to rest, when to admit you're tired without turning it into shame. It's allowing yourself to slow down without labeling it as failure. It's trusting that progress can be gentle and still be real. This kind of strength isn't about pushing endlessly, it's about enduring wisely. Every scar you carry is evidence of this strength. Not the kind that hardens you, but the kind that deepens you. You didn't lose your heart in the process. You didn't become cruel. You didn't let bitterness define you. You stayed human in a world that often rewards the opposite. That takes a courage most people never develop. And even now, as you listen to these words, that silent strength is listening too. It's the part of you that kept you alive when things felt unbearable. The part that kept choosing hope, even when it felt fragile. The part that knows deep down that you are more than what you've been through, more than what you've lost, more than what you fear. Becoming healing doesn't happen on a schedule, no matter how much the world tries to convince you otherwise. There is no calendar date where pain politely packs its bags and leaves. No deadline where your heart suddenly understands everything and feels light again. Healing moves at the speed of honesty, and honesty is never rushed. Some days you feel fine, almost normal, and other days a single thought can pull you back into places you thought you had already escaped. That doesn't mean you're going backward, it means you're human. You were taught to measure progress in visible results: smiles, productivity, confidence, achievement. But healing works in places no one sees. It works in how you react instead of explode, in how you pause instead of panic, in how you choose silence instead of chaos. It works when you notice a familiar pain and it hurts a little less than before. That reduction, even if small, is movement. There are wounds that don't respond to time alone. They respond to understanding, to patience, to moments of self-compassion you were never taught to give yourself. Healing asks you to sit with discomfort instead of distracting yourself from it. It asks you to acknowledge what happened without letting it define you. That takes strength, not speed. Some days you wake up feeling end, like everyone else has figured something out that you missed, like you should be over it by now, like enough time has passed, and you should be stronger, happier, lighter. But healing doesn't care about should, it cares about truth. And the truth is, some experiences change you deeply. They don't disappear, they integrate. They become part of how you see, how you choose, how you protect your peace. Quiet healing looks like setting boundaries you once felt guilty for needing. It looks like saying no without over-explaining. It looks like choosing rest even when your mind tells you to prove something. It looks like unlearning survival habits that once kept you safe but now keep you tense. This process is slow because it's undoing years of conditioning, not just moments of pain. You don't heal by pretending it didn't hurt. You heal by admitting it did, and choosing not to live inside that moment forever. You heal by allowing yourself to grieve what you lost, even if what you lost was a version of yourself, even if no one else thinks it was that serious. Your experience doesn't need permission to be valid. There will be moments when healing feels invisible, when you wonder if anything is actually changing. But then one day you'll notice you no longer chase what once begged for your attention. You'll notice you don't react the same way to the same triggers. You'll notice you breathe deeper, think clearer, walk away sooner. These shifts don't arrive with announcements. They arrive quietly, like realization after realization stacking gently inside you. Healing also asks you to forgive yourself for staying too long, for trusting too much, for not knowing what you know now. You did the best could with the awareness you had at the time. Growth is not about regret. It's about integration, about turning experience into wisdom instead of wounds. You are not slow. You are thorough. You are not broken. You are processing. And processing takes time because it involves untangling emotions, beliefs, memories, and expectations that were never meant to be carried all at once. You are learning how to feel safe in your own body again. That alone is a journey. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. It means pain won't control you the way it once did. It means you learn how to sit with discomfort without losing yourself inside it. It means you start trusting your inner voice more than external noise. And that trust builds slowly, quietly, through repetition and patience. So if today feels heavy, let it be heavy. If today feels calm, let it be calm. Neither defines your destination. Healing is happening even when you can't see it, even when you doubt it, even when it feels like nothing is changing. The fact that you're still here, still trying, still listening, still open enough to reflect, is evidence that the work is already underway. You are allowed to rest without quitting. That idea might feel uncomfortable, even threatening, Because somewhere along the way you were taught that rest means weakness, that slowing down means falling behind, that pausing is the same as giving up. But that belief was never meant to protect you. It was meant to keep you moving, even when your body, mind, and heart were asking for mercy. Rest is not the opposite of commitment. It is part of it. You've been carrying momentum like it's your identity. You've been afraid that if you stop even briefly, everything you work for will collapse, that people will forget you, that opportunities will pass, that motivation won't come back. But rest doesn't erase progress, it preserves it. It keeps you from burning out on a road you still want to walk. There is a difference between quitting and recovering. Quitting comes from hopelessness. Rest comes from awareness. Quitting says, I'm done because I can't do this. Rest says, I need to breathe so I can continue. One is surrender, the other is strategy. You don't owe the world constant output. You don't owe anyone exhaustion as proof of dedication. You've been strong for a long time, strong in ways that required endurance, not celebration. And when you live like that, rest starts to feel unfamiliar, even guilty. You sit still and your mind starts racing, listing all the things you could be doing, should be doing, haven't done yet. That voice is not discipline. It's fear dressed up as responsibility. Rest is where clarity returns. It's where your nervous system remembers what calm feels like. It's where creativity repairs itself. When you don't rest, you don't just lose energy, you lose perspective. You start making decisions from survival instead of intention. You start confusing urgency with importance. You are not lazy for needing a break, you are human. Muscles grow when they recover, not when they are constantly strained. The same is true for resilience, focus, and emotional strength. Constant pressure doesn't make you sharper, it makes you brittle. Rest gives you flexibility again. Some of the strongest decisions you will ever make look like stepping back instead of pushing forward. Like saying not today without explaining yourself. Like choosing sleep over proving something. Like protecting your peace even when others don't understand why you've gone quiet. That silence is not disappearance, it's repair. You don't lose your purpose when you rest. Your purpose doesn't evaporate because you slowed down. If it's real, it waits. What isn't meant for you rushes you. What is meant for you respects your pace. You don't have to chase everything. Some things arrive when you're finally still enough to receive them. Rest also teaches you boundaries. It shows you where you've been overgiving, overextending, overexplaining. It reveals which expectations were never yours to carry. When you rest, you start noticing how much energy you were spending just trying to be acceptable, reliable, impressive. You realize how much of that was unnecessary. There is a version of you that exists beyond burnout. A version that is calm, focused, present. That version isn't created by force, it's revealed through rest, through letting go of the belief that your value is measured by how tired you are at the end of the day. You don't have to earn rest by collapsing. You don't have to wait until everything falls apart to slow down. You are allowed to choose rest while things are still standing, while dreams are still alive, while momentum is still there. Rest doesn't mean the fire is gone. It means you're protecting it from going out. Becoming takes time, not permission. You don't need approval to grow into who you're meant to be. You don't need a signal from the world telling you it's finally okay to change, to choose differently, to want more or want less. Becoming is an internal process, and most of it happens without witnesses. It happens when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one even knows you're in transition. You've spent too much time waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident enough, healed enough, successful enough, worthy enough. But readiness is not a requirement for growth. Movement is. You don't become by having everything figured out. You become by taking small, uncertain steps while carrying questions with you. Clarity often follows action, not the other way around. There were versions of you that did the best they could with what they knew. Those versions don't deserve your judgment. They deserve your gratitude. Without them, you wouldn't be here now, thinking deeper, choosing differently, seeing clearer. Becoming doesn't mean rejecting who you were. It means integrating who you've been into who you are becoming. Time is not wasted just because progress is slow. Some lessons need repetition. Some realizations need experience. Some transformations need discomfort. You are not late because you took the longer road. Sometimes the longer road is the one that builds character, patience, depth. Speed creates results. Time creates wisdom. You don't need permission to outgrow spaces that no longer fit you. You don't need permission to change your priorities, your boundaries, your definition of success. People may be uncomfortable when you evolve, especially if they benefited from the old version of you. That discomfort is not your responsibility. Becoming is not betrayal, it's alignment. Growth often looks messy from the outside. It looks like hesitation, like uncertainty, like inconsistency. Inside, it looks like questio. Kneeing old beliefs, unlearning patterns, relearning yourself. That process isn't linear. You'll have days where you feel grounded and days where you feel lost again. Lost doesn't mean failing, it means exploring. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the person you are becoming. You don't have to justify your healing, your ambition, your softness, or your strength. The people meant to walk with you will adjust. The rest were only meant for a chapter. Not everyone gets access to every version of you. Becoming requires patience with yourself, the kind of patience that doesn't rush outcomes, that allows mistakes without turning them into identity, that understands growth is uncomfortable because it asks you to leave familiar pain for unfamiliar peace. Familiar pain feels safe. Unfamiliar peace feels risky at first. You are allowed to become slowly, to change your mind, to pause and reflect, to rebuild, to redefine, to take breaks between versions of yourself. You are not obligated to remain who you were just because others recognize that version. Growth is not something you ask for permission to do. It's something you allow yourself to experience, one quiet decision at a time. You are not here by accident, even on the days it feels random, even on the nights you question every choice that led you here. Existence is not a straight line, and meaning isn't something you stumble upon fully formed. It's something you assemble, quietly, from moments you almost ignored, from choices that felt small, from pauses that felt pointless, from pain that didn't come with explanations. You don't wake up one day and suddenly understand everything. You wake up many days and keep choosing to stay present long enough for understanding to grow around you. There were moments you wanted certainty more than truth, a clear answer, a sign, something undeniable that would tell you who to be and where to go, but certainty is loud and impatient. Truth is subtle. It waits until you're ready to listen without trying to control the outcome. And readiness doesn't arrive when life is easy. It arrives when you've been humbled enough to stop pretending you already know. You've learned things the hard way. Not because you wanted to, but because life doesn't always offer the soft route. You learned how to sit with unanswered questions, how to keep your heart open after disappointment, how to show restraint when anger would have been justified. Those lessons didn't make you perfect. They made you real, and real is far more useful than perfect. There's a quiet dignity in choosing kindness without guarantees, in showing compassion without expecting it to come back the same way, in treating people well even when the world rewards indifference. That dignity doesn't come from being naive. It comes from being aware and choosing better anyway. You know what darkness looks like. You've seen how easily people turn away from empathy, and still you choose not to let that turn you cold. You don't need to harden to survive. That's a myth. Hardness might protect you from feeling, but it also distances you from meaning. Strength doesn't require cruelty. It requires clarity. It requires knowing what matters to you and refusing to abandon it when things get uncomfortable. You can be gentle and firm at the same time. You can be kind and still have boundaries. Those are not contradictions. They are signs of maturity. There are parts of you that are still healing, still learning how to trust your own instincts again. That's okay. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. It's rebuilt through small consistencies, through noticing when your inner voice was right, through honoring your limits, through choosing alignment over approval. Each time you listen to yourself and act with integrity, that trust grows stronger. You are not obligated to live loudly to live meaningfully. A quiet life can be a deep one. Impact doesn't always show up as recognition. Sometimes it shows up as influence you'll never see, a word you spoke at the right moment, a presence that made someone feel less alone, a choice that changed the direction of a day, a relationship, a life. You won't always know the reach of your actions. That doesn't make them insignificant. There's courage in restraint, in not reacting immediately, in letting emotions pass before you speak, in choosing your battles carefully. That courage is built from self-awareness, not suppression. You feel deeply, but you don't let every feeling make decisio. And as for you, you give yourself space to respond instead of react. That space is where wisdom lives. You don't have to prove your worth through suffering. You don't have to earn peace by enduring chaos. You are allowed to choose a life that feels calm, intentional, grounded. You are allowed to let go of patterns that glorified struggle. Growth doesn't always look like pushing harder. Sometimes it looks like choosing differently. There will always be voices telling you who you should be, what you should want, how fast you should move. Most of those voices are projecting their own fear. You don't need to carry that. You only need to listen closely enough to yourself to know when something feels aligned and when it doesn't. Alignment feels steady. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand you betray yourself to belong. You are capable of change without self-rejection. You don't need to shame the past to build a better future. You can acknowledge what didn't work without letting it define you. You can appreciate how far you've come without pretending the journey was easy. Both can exist at the same time. There's a kind of peace that comes from acceptance, not resignation, but acceptance. Acceptance of what is, so you can decide what's next without fighting reality. Resistance exhausts you. Acceptance frees your energy. From that place, choices become clearer. Not easier, but clearer. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be honest. Fear will show up. Let it. Courage is not the sense of fear, it's the decision not to let fear choose for you. Each time you act despite it, fear loses some of its authority, not all at once. Gradually, you are allowed to value depth over speed, substance over noise, meaning over momentum. The world might not always reward that immediately, but it will shape you into someone grounded enough to withstand change without losing yourself. That kind of grounding becomes invaluable when things shift, as they always do. There is still room for wonder in you, even after disappointment, even after loss. That ability to notice beauty, to feel moved by simple things, to stay curious instead of cynical, that's not weakness. That's resilience refined. It means you didn't let hardship flatten your inner landscape. You don't have to know the ending to honor the process. You don't have to see the full picture to take the next step. You only have to be present enough to choose with integrity in this moment. The rest unfolds through consistency, patience, and the quiet courage to stay open, whatever you're carrying. Right now, you don't have to carry it all at once. You can set parts of it down. You can ask for help. You can change your mind. None of that diminishes you. It makes you adaptable. And adaptability is one of the most underrated forms of strength. You are not defined by your hardest day. You are defined by the pattern of how you meet life over time, with honesty, with effort, with a willingness to learn. That pattern is still arming. You're still shaping it. And that means there is still possibility ahead, even if you can't name it yet.